Welcome to Backstage with Richard Ridge. We are once again here at the legendary Sardi's, and my guests are the two stars of director Daniel Fish's Tony Award-winning production of Rodgers and Hammerstein's Oklahoma. Please welcome Rebecca Naomi Jones and Damon Daunno. Well, first of all, it is great to be catching up with the two of you.
It is great. It's great for us, too.
Yeah.
Well, now that the show is a big hit and it's just up and running, what are the two of you enjoying the most about being a part of this production of Oklahoma?
I love showing up every day to a brand new, fresh room of people and having no idea if what kind of ride it's going to be that night, So we sort of unfold all that together, and that's always really thrilling.
I enjoy the trust that is so much a part of our production, and being all these months into this particular production, being so able to trust what we have built and to trust the rest of my fellow actors and bandmates, and just to trust that we all know what we're doing and we can steer this ship the way we know how.
Did you ever think in your wildest imagination that either of you would be starring on Broadway in a production of Oklahoma?
Not me.
100% no.
Not me.
Yeah.
Not for a second.
I'm thrilled it's happening now.
Yeah, me too.
So
Me too.
you have the longest association, Damon, with this production.
Actually, Patrick Vale does, who
Okay.
plays Judd. He went to Bard College as an undergrad, and they did a really early version of this then, and 8 years later they brought it back, and that's when I joined, and then 3 years after that we brought it to St. Anne's, which is when Rebecca joined.
Yeah.
And so there's been a long history, but
Did you originally pass on your auditions for this?
do you know what? I did, yes. I was on tour. Well, it speaks to that thing of, like, do you ever think you'd be, doing Oklahoma? So I was on tour with another show, and I get a call being like, yeah, they want you for Curly in Oklahoma. And I was like, I'm good, actually. I don't know. And I was like, I'm not, I'm never going to be anyone's Curly, it's a great role, but, who am I kidding? I'd like to think I can be a dashing leading man, but I feel like well, bless you. But I felt at the time that I was being told I was a bit more like alternative and things like that. So I was shocked. So I just said, why bother? And then they came back and they were like, no, talk to the director actually and get a sense of what this is all about. And from talking to Daniel, it was clear he was a totally inspired, brilliant, visionary man, and so I couldn't wait to work with him.
Yeah. So when you first found out that this was going to happen, like, what went through your mind?
Well, I got the audition appointment through my agent, and I similarly was like, oh, I don't think this is for me. I don't think anybody's going to ever cast me in Oklahoma, period, and certainly not as Laurey in Oklahoma. And also, I don't know if that's a ride that I want to try and take.
Yeah.
Just because when I think of a traditional version of Oklahoma, I think I could do a version of it, but if there's somebody else who's going to live in that place, that they should just cast instead of me. And then before I sent that actual pass email to my agents, I just was like, well, just keep reading, just finish reading the whole email before you just cast it off. And so first I saw that it was happening at St. Anne's Warehouse, which already made me go, oh, this has got to be something different, because St. Anne's always does such interesting work that's, different and new and very arty. And then secondly, I saw that they were asking me to sing the songs in whatever key felt right, in whatever style felt right, for me, which I was like, okay, well, at least there's some room. And then basically I looked up Daniel Fish, because I wasn't familiar with his work, and I saw production stills, and I saw Damon in the photos, who I already knew. And I was like, oh, if Damon is in this, that alternative
leading man.
That's right.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, then there's room for me too, because I know your shtick.
Sure.
I know this guy's shtick. So I was like, oh, my shtick fits in with that shtick. So
The shtick worked well together.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I was like, all right, I'll try.
Well, let's talk about Daniel Fish. I mean, what an innovative director.
Yeah.
What makes him so wonderful to work with, specifically on this project?
Well, it's a rare experience to sort of blindly trust somebody in a way that I loved rehearsing, building this and finding this with him in a way that if he liked it, I knew it was right, in a way that he would need you to try 100 different things. So it was really great sort of practice in that way. But it was sort of it kept proving to be true that if I had an impulse to be like, hang on, but shouldn't it be this or whatever? It's like if I just let go and let Daniel, so to speak, I would probably find out 15 minutes later of like, oh, that's what he was talking about. And actually that's like so much more brilliant than anything I ever thought this moment could have been or was or anything like that. So it was just a repeated cycle of stuff like that.
Yeah, for you.
Well, along with what you're saying, I think part of the immense frustration and thrill of working with Daniel is that he doesn't like to over discuss what he's thinking or what his concept is, or discuss it really at all.
Yeah, he hates actory stuff.
Yeah, he hates actory stuff. And so there's like a lot of frustration and stress, and then but then something beautiful happens on the other side of that, which is like once you and Daniel and everything sort of locks in and you find that moment, what's beautiful is that it feels like you own it. Like it feels like it came from something, and to, for lack of a better word, organically. And so it feels like it's now a part of you in this way, that's different from if somebody's like, it's like this, and then you just do it like that, and so it just sort of gets applied to your brain in a way. But this feels like it's whole body.
Yeah. People forget how radical Rodgers and Hammerstein were when they originally wrote Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Right?
Yeah, my wife pointed this out, but it's something I think is so completely true. This thing that we keep saying of it's not your grandmother's Oklahoma is not only ageist and sexist, but it's just inaccurate, because the reality is in 1943 when this thing dropped, it was punk rock as hell, and it was progressive. It was, I personally think Rodgers and Hammerstein wrote what we're doing, and very progressive from the off. So I like to think that it's 100% your grandparents' Oklahoma.
Because
you must have felt the same way when you read just the lyrics, when you take the music out of it and just read the text and these lyrics.
Yes, absolutely. When I was getting ready to prepare the audition, once I was like, okay, I'm gonna try my best. I was reading the lyrics to Many a New Day, and I was like, wow. These are strong lyrics. First of all, they're clever. They're very funny. They're like laugh out loud funny. Never have I asked an August sky where has last July gone. I mean, those lines are really fun. Never have I wandered through the rye wondering where has some guy gone. Those are funny lyrics and so smart. And they gave me a window into this character, Laurey, as a really smart, clever woman. And that's just thrilling. And they wrote that.
Yeah. Was there something that unlocked, specifically something you worked on that unlocked these roles for you? Because like you said, organic. These roles are so organic. You live and breathe these two people that you play. And were they musical performances, like bluegrass people, or someone who might have influenced your the sound or what you wanted to work on?
I mean, I am a sucker for westerns and that sort of culture and stuff like that. So I was familiar with people like Roy Rogers, and I really was excited to sort of lean into that association of music and the West and things like that. What was really cool was Daniel encouraging that sort of personal connection to the character, asking me, rather than it be the psych out of, oh, well, I'm not like a traditionally trained singer, so Rodgers and Hammerstein, I probably don't sound like that. It's like, well, what do you sound like? And, so that sort of country twang and yodel thing I really loved and had already. And same with falsetto and stuff like that. And so there were moments in rehearsals where I remember this was for Bard, actually. I would mess around and sing Laurey's parts and my parts. And so I was just joking around in a way that he was like, oh, I didn't well, I didn't know you could do that, so let's have you do that, and which again makes it sort of organic in this way, but that sort of unlocked this thing of, hey, I can put to bed any preconceived notion, and I can find my own, cheeky chappy in there.
I love that.
Yeah.
What about for you?
For me, musically, I sort of let the songs dictate for me what style they felt like. So Many a New Day feels to me, when I read the lyrics particularly, it feels to me like a ballsy 40s jazzy number, like, I'm gonna love you like nobody's loved you, come rain or come shine, like aggressive, jazzy 40s-ish, and then something else like Out of My Dreams feels more intimate to me and poetic, like Fiona Apple or something like that. But you were asking about if something unlocked. I mean, I think doing the piece from start to finish, especially like once we were in run-throughs for the first time that I was a part of it, just I think opens up like a flower and sort of teaches you so many things just in the doing of it. And so now going back and being in specific moments, being aware of where we're headed is that much clearer.
I love that you're so close to the audience.
Yeah.
How crazy, like, what's the craziest thing that has happened to both of you, like, during a performance? Anything?
I full on fell into a man's lap one day. It was early on, and there's a moment where Laurey's chasing me with a fly swatter, and so I'm hauling it, and I had to change my blocking ultimately, because I used to just jump and like 180 onto this rail.
Yeah.
And one day I just, I guess, had too much speed going, and I jumped, and I was like, and I'm going, and just full on into the man's lap. And then it took me, like, it was like a clown show. It took me like a solid 3.5 minutes to like figure out, am I going under? Am I coming back over? What am I doing with my legs in relation to this man's face? And then I gave him a big hug, and so that was cool. And we had cameras there that day because they were filming for promotion.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's always something
Exactly.
like that on a day like
Always,
that.
isn't it?
What about for you? 'Cause you're so close to them.
Yes, I had a man tap me on the shoulder,
Okay.
stood up in the audience, and say, "Can you move? I can't see."
Does he know you're Laurey?
He didn't know at the time, I guess,
Yeah.
because it was like right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Denver was on for Damon, for Curly, and he had already started singing "Oh, What a Beautiful Morning." So the show had begun, and
I
the
think I was
man.
there.
No, you weren't there.
Really?
You weren't there because I remember texting you actually. To be
Oh,
like,
maybe
guess
that's
what you
why.
missed.
Oh, maybe that's why. I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I
yeah.
see it in my mind.
Yeah, no. So I got tapped hard
Yeah.
on the shoulder and spoken to like I was being so rude. I was just like, I
Look,
don't know
I'm
what
the
to tell
lead.
you.
Yeah.
I mean, but I'm
Ruining
anybody.
my
Just,
show
like,
experience, ma'am.
it's so uncomfortable for me because I'm a people pleaser and I don't want to be. I hate being in somebody's way. But I was also just like, I don't know what I can do for you. Like, this is staging.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about the show. As I spoke with Daniel after about that, and he said, that's the thing is everybody at some point is going to be blocked from something, and then you just have to sort of accept that. But it is weird at the beginning of the show. I often have people behind me being,
But what I like about that is if you get blocked by you, you focus on somebody else.
yeah.
So you're always shifting of who you're following.
That's
Nice.
right.
Even the town folk, it's like everybody, it shifts.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. And everybody's
Yeah.
got something going on, so it's not a loss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it must be fun at the same time to have the audience that close, is it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's a major element of
The show.
the
Yeah,
thing,
and that's what I think it keeps it alive, and for better or for worse,
Yeah.
And there's really no hiding, and it was a quick learning curve to not take things so like personally in a way that probably happens in every show, but you may not notice because there's the proscenium sort of distance and darkness and things that with their house lights up the whole time and everyone's right there, every little potential yawn or doze or snack or walk out or whatever feels, you're sort of like, oh, they didn't, but actually now people express themselves in really unique ways, and it doesn't mean they're not having a good time, and so that's fun to navigate that every night.
I want to go back to the beginning. Was there a defining moment for each of you when you said, I want to try to be an actor or a musician and try to make a living at this? Do you remember that decision you made?
For me, there was no other way. It wasn't. I can't say that I specifically had Broadway as a sort of end game. I always loved doing the musicals and in my schools and stuff like that. But the idea of performing, of being an actor, of being a musician, of being a songwriter, or any of that, was just always going to be what it was. So I'm really grateful that I've gotten to be able to do it. But but there's a constant fear involved as well of like, oh, this will all be over, and this was, all of that. But
what about for you?
I grew up singing, and my father was a musician, and I wanted to be a singer and songwriter from when I was born, really. And then accidentally fell in love with theater in middle school when a friend of mine sort of dragged me to the auditions for the 5th and 6th grade play, and I remember like vividly falling in love with it at the audition, like reading the lines and just falling in love with the make-believe of it. And I had already loved watching, movies on TV and imagining being a part of them, and movie musicals too, and I loved playing dress up, so it sort of did all make sense. But I was, from that point on in middle school, I was in all of the school plays, in high school as well, and then ended up having a college counselor who told me about conservatories, and so I went to a conservatory just for straight acting. It was just a weird turnaround that I ended up going to a theater school, not a musical theater school, and just really taking a deep dive into acting, and I don't know, it just all happened. It just all happened that way, and then here we are, just sort of doing both.
Yeah. I want to go back to your Broadway debuts, because they only happened once, and those are really special times. Yours, of course, was the musical Passing Strange.
Yes.
That was a life-changing musical for you in many ways, wasn't it?
It really was.
Yeah.
I remember reading the script and just having my mind blown that somebody was saying all of these things that had been sort of deep inside my psyche and my brain and my body for so long, but I couldn't even put to words, let alone feel like, oh, somebody's saying the thing that I've been thinking. It was like some of the stuff that Stu had written into this musical and Heidi had written into this musical was like, whoa, like I'm allowed to say that and think that, and you're putting towards this thing that I've been processing. And so I fell so deeply in love with it, and the fact that we made it to Broadway after Berkeley Rep and the public was shocking. And what a beautiful way to start working on Broadway. What a beautiful non-traditional, fresh, exciting thing that was like a soul effort.
Yeah. It sort of goes back to what you were talking about, Oklahoma, organic.
Yeah.
That was one of your first shows that you were able to create with Stu and Heidi, like you are with Daniel with Oklahoma.
That's right.
That your input means something, that you can create something together.
That's right. And actually it was such a beautiful thing to do my first Broadway show with something that was so creative, because after graduating from conservatory, I was so and I guess I've always had this in myself as well, but just from taking piano really seriously as a kid too. But I always just wanted to do the right thing, and I always wanted to like get the thing exactly right and precise. And doing Passing Strange with people who really were band people, musician people, not theater people first, sort of allowed me to knock myself out of the sort of robot, just a vessel for the words and for the blah blah and the la la. Like it really knocked that out of me and allowed me to start to find my own voice and remember that I'm an artist and a contributor, or that I should be. Yeah,
that's great. Damon, yours was Brief Encounter at Studio 54.
Yeah.
What made that so magical for you?
Oh goodness, everything. I didn't expect my first big job to be a 1940s British melodrama, for which I would learn the ukulele and upright bass. But it was, as the face would have it, and it really cracked open a whole thing for me as well. It was with the Knee-High Theatre Company, based out of Cornwall, England, and they just completely changed my life. And they're a gang of well, they have this thing about the naughty twinkle, and that just really spoke directly to me and what I'm about. And so I just felt like I found this family. I found this, group of brilliant idiots, and learned that sort of irreverence in theater making, when done gracefully, like the power of storytelling, is very effective. And I met great friends, and I got to, go to England for the first time, and I got to perform at Studio 54, which is where I used to volunteer usher during cabaret when I was a kid, and that's where I first had like a Broadway dream, and so that was a really amazing full circle. And and that story, the story of Brief Encounter, is so epic and heartbreaking and beautiful that it was an extraordinarily little precious pocket of time. And then actually from that, I wound up working with Knee High for several years after that, and a handful of shows sort of traveled all over the world a bit, and most importantly, I met my wife through them. Yeah.
Oh, through the company.
Yeah, we did a show called Tristan and Isolde together in 2014, and toured it in 2015, and, got hitched.
That was really a special opening night. I mean, a Broadway debut for you.
Yeah, I mean, I had no idea it was setting a precedent for a whole path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You look like you're such a tight company at Oklahoma. Is there a go-to dressing room? Like, what are your pre-show rituals that you each do beforehand? Because I have no idea what the makeup is back there with dressing rooms and
Jimmy
stuff,
and
or where they are.
Jimmy and I keep our door closed most of the time. We're kind of emo about it, I feel like other folks are open and happy, and we sort of like get in our zone.
I often invite myself into your dressing room during intermission.
Intermission's
the door is open.
Yeah.
There's
That's
a little
true.
perch.
Yeah.
We don't have a green room, unfortunately.
Right.
So that's tough with the hanging out. But we do, on Sundays, we do Chip Sunday.
Okay, which
Chips
is?
and dips.
Which is chips and dips. And sometimes, like, other fun things.
Yeah, Mary made like a cream cheese caviar thing.
Yeah, it was really good. Bris dip? Is that what it was called?
Couldn't touch it.
Okay.
Dietary
Oh,
restrictions.
yeah.
Okay,
This
but
guy.
it's after the Sunday show?
During.
It's during.
Oh.
Really great for the voice.
Yeah.
Just hummus and salsa and spicy, delicious things.
Yeah.
There's no way you'd be able to open the show then, right, after eating that?
No, we've opened the show. I'm just totally joking. Of like, I'll come off from doing Surrey with the Fringe and then just like house chips and guacamole, and then come back and sing "People Will Say We're in Love."
I tend to wait.
Till at least intermission?
Yeah. To intermission.
I'm like, end of the week, we earned it.
Yeah, which is true.
Yes, it was pretty exciting for you, right?
Yeah, it was pretty exciting. I had a lot of anxiety about it, but it was ultimately very exciting and fun.
It was like the best of the New York theater scene was here yesterday.
Yeah,
we watched everybody pass by when they were leaving.
Yeah, I finally sent an email out to family and friends like 2 days ago, and I was like, so I'm getting a Sardi's caricature. I haven't emailed because I just have had a lot of anxiety and weird feelings about it, but so many people showed up, which was really very moving.
Is it wild when you're like, the time has come, and then they unveil it for you?
Oh, it's so wild. Yeah, I felt like first of all, I felt like I was at my bar mitzvah. And second of all, I felt like, I barely even saw it.
Yeah.
I was just like, this is all happening. Oh my God, it's amazing, So like I had to look at it again because I was like, I barely saw. I just felt like I was stars.
We're going to get one for you next.
All right, let's do it. What's that?
Just did it. He's getting one.
That's breaking right now.
We're breaking this at BroadwayWorld,
This is
so
real?
you're getting one. Yeah, so look at this.
And you're getting one. And you're
getting
getting one.
but they're very hard to get. They're
Whoa.
very hard to get.
I choose not to believe it. I think this is a PR move. He's very good at what he does.
No, this goes out to millions of people at BroadwayWorld. They're going to be like, we want to go to Sardi's and see them both side by side.
Well,
yeah.
So yours is
nice.
coming up next.
Well, I'll believe it when I
In
see
January.
it. All right. Wow. Goodness gracious.
We're going to be so back for that.
I mean,
Yeah. So again, like I was telling both of you, you are an inspiration to a lot of young actors who watch these to figure out their way in.
Very nice.
So what is the best bit of advice that either of you have been given, personally or professionally, that you live by?
try as much as you can to be a whole person.
Yeah.
Work as hard as you can, be as prepared as you can for the work and for the job or for the potential job. But also, you're just going to be a better actor if you're a better human, if you're curious about all things and all people.
That's great. Damon, for you.
What?
No, nothing. I'm trying to...
Yeah.
Be cool. I think if I'm talking to, I don't know that I've received an adage to live by, but I think something that I've personally come to really understand and appreciate is genuinely the art of not giving Fs and being true to yourself in that way. I mean, truly, the world and the business is very tricky and ups and downs, and sometimes things don't make sense. And you put such your heart and soul into what you do, especially if it's in your heart and you really love it. Don't ever stop. Be kind to everyone.
Yeah.
And give absolutely zero Fs about expectation or pleasing people or thinking you need to fit in a box. Phones off, please. But, authenticity is rewarded and is, I think, the most engaging, watchable thing. And so if it's in your heart, don't ever stop. Don't let it kill your kindness. And give zero Fs.
Yeah. That is great advice. I have watched both of your careers rise. So it's so great to watch you make your magic and what you each do 8 times a week. Because like you said, you go to the theater and you just want to start fresh with a whole new audience and take them all on this incredible journey at Oklahoma. So I want to thank you both for joining me today here at Sardi's
so
before the
much.
lunch rush.
Yeah, exactly.
I know.